What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dummy Wormy, and I'm back with yet another Doctor Who review. And I gotta be real honest, it was boring. And by the end of it all, it was pointless, and they still leave you with more questions than anything else. More signs of just bad storytelling. I don't know what's going on. And with this episode, I had to watch it 3 times just to try to figure it out. And even then, I still have just tons of questions. More questions than answers. And well, I don't know what to say about it. I don't know where to go with it. The upside to this episode was there's no Shurigatwa. Well, except for like 2 moments. There's no big bad. I can see some of the messaging that they put in it within pseudo anti-Trump or anti-Boris Johnson style character. But it deals with magic again. And I don't know what the rules for the magic are. I don't know what it is. And without these strict rule sets, I don't know what can and cannot happen. But I said this much so far. Let's just get into the episode, shall we? Because we come over here, and when we're actually going through the episode, we see the Doctor and Ruby land in Wales. That's the big thing. They're in Wales right now because Welsh stuff. And they landed on a very specific area, the edge of the land and the sea, where rules are broken and you have to be very careful for all the weird stuff, which they established back in the 60th episode during Wild Blue Yonder. Have to be very careful. Edge of realities on these edges. Rules become all wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey garbage nonsense, in which they end up like you can affect reality by doing some superstition. It's not smart, it's kind of stupid, and the ramifications are very stupid. But okay, so they touch down, they start walking, and they end up breaking a circle of string, and they're like, oh no, it's something weird, and it turns out to be a fairy circle. You don't find this out till a couple of minutes later, or a little while into the show, not too far, but it's a fairy circle, and it's all supernatural and oogity boogity and stuff like that. So as they're like reacting to, you know, breaking it, Ruby ends up finding these notes and reads it. And one of them says, magic, rest in peace, you know, all this stuff. And after she gets done reading it, she looks away and the Doctor's gone. Just poofed right out of existence. But the TARDIS is there. The Doctor's gone. Nope, no way to do anything. No more Doctor. Everything's gone. So Ruby tries to hop back into the TARDIS thinking that the Doctor's there, but her key won't work. And I don't know why. And this is the important thing. I'm going to be showing you stuff that happened in this episode that they don't give you an answer to at all. And it's kind of boring, honestly. So now she can't get in the TARDIS at all, but she ends up seeing this weird woman off in the distance that she can't walk up to, she can't do anything with, but the woman's just there making these hand gestures over and over again. And she tries to approach her and she keeps moving back. Ruby walks away. It's this weird thing that's going on. Always 73 yards, by the way. So we end up moving on. She's trying to walk away and she thinks she escaped her and then she just appears again. Always that distance. She ends up walking, trying to get rid of her. Night comes on and she ends up running into this... Well, it's the old woman that's been in almost every episode thus far. She stumbles onto her just walking out and tries to fill the lady in. And there's some weird stuff that ends up getting said. Ruby ends up asking the old woman to go talk to the person following me and just tell her that I'm perfectly fine, but also tell her I'm sorry. But you don't know why she wants to apologize. Ruby doesn't know why she wants to apologize. So then she says to just inform her, have you seen the Doctor? So old woman goes up, talks to other person. She can see her. She can do all this. And then the next thing you know, the other old woman turns, looks at Ruby, begins screaming and running away. That's odd. Don't know what's going on there. Don't know why this is happening. Woman screamed. Okay, well, Ruby ends up getting into a town that wasn't too far away. It's cold, it's rainy. She goes inside to this pub and she, you know, is in there. She gets a room at this pub for the night. The pub owners are busting her balls, acting like it's weird, but using the whole like, oh, we're Welsh, we're supernatural druid people. they're pumping that stuff up a little bit, and it is what it is. Well, throughout time, they're talking, discussing stuff. Ends up having, that she points out the old woman that's been following her. Other old woman ends up saying, "Hey, you should invite her in, okay? She shouldn't be outside." And Ruby's like, "Well, I can't. Every time I try to get close to her, I just can't. It's physically impossible." So, old guy here goes like, "Okay, I'll go talk to her. I should be going anyways because my wife's calling me." So Ruby says, "Hey, just talk to her. Tell her I'm fine. But if she's seen my friend, a black guy, about you, so height, trying to get the doctor." So he goes and does that. And what ends up happening is the old man runs away. Just goes away. Bye-bye. He's scared too. Just screams and runs off. Weird dude here ends up taking note of it. It's like the devil's on his ass. It's so funny. Ho ho ho. And Ruby's like shocked. And as time goes on, old woman here, they begin talking about witchcraft. And old woman here is like, "Witchcraft is a very strong word. You shouldn't be throwing it about," or anything like that. So Ruby ends up filling him in on what the hell happened. We broke this weird circle of like cotton and birds' heads and things like that to things, and they start going like, "Oh my God, you did what? You broke a fairy circle. You that was there to keep a person at rest. You're evil. Why did you do this? And what? You read the scrolls? Why did you read the scrolls? Mad Jack is evil. He's coming for us. Oh my God, he's gonna hurt us all." And they're pumping this up, and it turns out by the end, they were just pulling a prank on her the whole time, because this dude here, right over here, was actually banging on the door. It's a whole thing. It's kind of stupid, but I can at least say it was an intense moment, an interesting moment, because there's a lot of questions going on here. So you're like, okay, maybe this is the answer. No, no, it's just a dumb joke the whole time. So Ruby stays the night. Next morning, old woman's just standing there. Other old woman, but person that owns the pub, comes by and goes like, "Here's some clothes. I have some spares. Take it for now. We'll figure this out." Ruby goes up to the TARDIS just to look at it. You can see the old woman in the background. Ruby's just there looking at it, reacting. Another days go by, and pub owner woman comes over and says, "Well, I called that man that ended up walking out and everything. I was trying to figure out why the heck he hasn't been by for a while." And she goes like, "I'm not coming by ever again, blah 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 blah." And the whole reason is you need to ask her. So old woman's looking at Ruby, and Ruby's like, "No, don't ask me. I think he means ask her." Well, old woman ends up going like, "Well, because of that, you can't be here anymore. I want you to pack up and leave." That's exactly what Ruby does, but before she leaves, she goes to the TARDIS, goes like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, we haven't been together for so long, but because you're no longer here, I guess you left. I'm just gonna go home. Okay, I'm just gonna go home. That's it. Okay, bye." So Ruby gets on a train, and I'll give her this. This was an interesting little moment. So she gets on the train, she looks out the window, and if I could get the shot just right, I don't think I can. There it is. As she's on the train, constantly, the moment there's a clearing, you see the old woman. As they're moving by, constantly, you see the old woman just standing there. More, and I'll say, this is interesting. I personally, I was curious. I still don't know what's going on. I'm curious. I want to know what is happening at this point. Old woman's traveling. Well, Ruby gets home. She sees her mom. Her mom's all happy to see her. Grandma's all like, "I told you that boy was about trouble," blah, blah, Jamaican accents. As they keep talking, mom goes like, "Well, maybe the doctor, he's a man. Men go into their little cupboards sometimes to just lock themselves away and do their own little things, pottery, train sets, yada, yada, yada. That's what men do. They go into their cupboards, and he was traveling in a cupboard, so that's probably what it is." And the mom's also then says, "Yeah, I don't know this for sure. I've never had a garden. I've never had a shed. Heck, I've never had a man. This is just what I've always been told." So we know now that her mother's old spinster who just takes in a bunch of babies just for the money. But okay, so they end up talking, and things go on. Ruby fills her in on the old woman, and mom has this entire plan. Honestly, decent plan. Decent plan. I'll give her that. Decent plan. Mom's plan is, okay, the two of us are going to go down to the street. I'm going to approach her, and I'm going to be on my cell phone the whole time, calling you. So then when I approach her, you can hear what she has to say. Decent plan. decent enough plan. We'll go with it. So that's all that goes on. By the way, here's other old woman from the very first episode back during the Christmas special asking just pointing it out, saying, you guys look silly. None of my business, walks away. So mom ends up walking up to old woman and Ruby's like, what's going on? What's she saying? She's trying to hear, and she's like, she looks like how she looks. She looks how she looks. And then you hear static. Ruby can't hear what's actually going on there. Next thing you know, she knows, mom turns around, looks at her, screams, and runs off herself. Ruby ends up running, trying to figure out what's going on. Ruby now sees old woman right over here. And then as she turns around, she sees her mom driving away in a cab, shocked because her mom doesn't want any part of her. So then Ruby goes away, comes back a little bit later, tries to get in her apartment. She's now not allowed in her apartment. She calls her mom, and her mom responds with, I don't want you anywhere near me anymore. You're evil. You're awful. I don't want you. Your own mother didn't want you. And, being kind of rude. And it does make me wonder, what's this old woman doing to everybody? I'm going to keep bringing this up. What is she doing to people to affect them like this? Because it is an interesting mystery. I don't know. Nobody knows what she looks like. I don't know what's happening. It keeps getting weirder and weirder. Time goes on. We end up seeing Ruby now at some cafe little spot, and she's introduced to Kate Leatherbridge Stewart. The lady that does the whole, all these other programs. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head. Doctor stuff. She was there during the 60th and other episodes as well. So Kate's here to talk to her, does stuff with her, and they start talking. They have back and forth. She ends up, confirming everything. She also fills in Ruby on hey, I'm here to help integrate people that used to be with a doctor back into normal society. It happens. It happens a lot. You'd be shocked, but you're not going crazy. This is all real. And she confirms everything with Ruby, and good back and forth, good dialogue, good moments that make me actually, hey, what's happening here? So Ruby fills in hey, she's always, 73 yards away. She's always 73 yards away. Kate says the same thing. We used all of our technology. She's always 73 yards away from you. We've been scanning her. We've been tracking her. We've been doing all this stuff. And as time goes on, she also fills in that, hey, we try to take a picture of her. I'm trying to get to that point because this was honestly unique. This was interesting. She tried to take a picture of her, and what they ended up showing was hey, we couldn't get a picture. Our technology's really advanced. Okay, we cannot get a picture of her. No matter how close we get, it always looks like she's 73 yards away from a normal human eyesight. 20/20 vision, 73 yards away. She's all blurry. It's all weird. Don't know what's happening. So one of the theories, this is an interesting theory. This is something I was liking. Even though I don't like the magic-y, timey-wimey garbage stuff, okay, I don't like the magic aspect, they did do some interesting writing with this. They said because maybe the TARDIS touched down where it touched down on this edge thing, perhaps she got affected with a perception filters to the point that, people notice her, but they don't notice her because they did all these cool tests with her, People know she's there, but they don't really care. People don't care that, she's ever around. She's just there. You can't really see her. You can't notice her. Your perception gets all fuzzy around her. So there's something cool going on there. Makes me wonder what's happening. Is this real? So, okay, see, I'm pointing out interesting stuff from the episode, even though it's all stupid in the end. Trust me, it gets really stupid. So, okay, Kate ends up saying, we're going to send in our troops. We're going to try to engage her. We're going to try to bring her in to figure out what's going on. So, that's what happened. Troops go in, try to do stuff, and then Kate's all like, do not engage with her. Do not talk with her. Just stop, Don't communicate with her. And as time goes on, they all start getting affected. And Kate, who has the little earpiece in, starts getting affected as well, turns around and says, disengage. And then everybody walks away. And now Ruby's all left by herself, freaking out. And I gotta say, this is my criticism to the scene. I've been giving props this whole time. I've been pointing out that I don't fully hate this episode thus far, but we're gonna start hating the episode. It's about to come down, but Ruby starts freaking out, I'm all right, throws the thing down. Waitress comes by, oi, do you mind? And Ruby responds with, I said I'm all right. I didn't like that line. I thought that was a bad line. I thought this whole moment was kind of just bad. It's modern day kind of writing styles, trying to throw in a little joke there, even though you could have perfectly left it off with her throwing the thing down, and then the waitress walking up. You didn't need that little tidbit of back and forth. I know that's a nitpick. I'm just pointing it out. It doesn't really flow very well with what they were doing. And nothing's about to flow again because we're about to go deep down a rabbit hole because it's stupid in the end. So Ruby ends up getting her own place, living at this old place, looks out, sees the woman. Oh, every night we watch her go by. She goes on a bunch of dates. By the way, I think I could be getting this one wrong. This was the police officer from the Christmas special that was about to propose to his girlfriend. And I'm pretty sure his girlfriend is Ruby. I could be getting that wrong, but this is also our key that time's been going by. Time's been slowly moving by. Because by the end of this little segment that we're getting into, it's been 20 years since the doctors disappeared. So she sits down with dude, dates abound, talks about is there somebody else. More time goes by, she drinks wine, looks out the woman. Another date comes by, says similar things like you're distant. Then another date goes on, date number 3, and they start talking, and then Ruby takes note of election stuff that's going on in the background. Roger App Gilliam, was up on the stream, and this is important because I forgot to mention this part earlier. When the doctor touched down, they were talking about whales and stuff, and the doctor spoiled something that's coming up in the future about Roger William, who is Prime Minister from Wales in the year 2046, who almost starts a nuclear war, and he was a bad dude. We don't know why he almost started a nuclear war. We don't know anything about that, but he almost did, and he was a bad dude. Bad dude. Did bad stuff. That's all we know. And then the doctor realized that he was spoiling stuff, and then immediately stopped, even though you already keyed her in on something bad. So, okay. Ruby sees Roger William, remembers everything that was being said, Mad Jack, all this stuff. And she's like, oh my God, I know what's going on here. I need to stop William from becoming prime minister and starting a nuclear war. So that's her whole plan. She tells her dates, hey, I need to leave. I know what I need to do now. You're sweet, kind. It's just not working out except for the bedroom. That's all you, and you are fantastic, by the way. Yes, that's an actual line. Ruby says, hey, I'm going to go save the world, walks out, takes one look at the old woman that's been following her, says, hey, come on, we got a world to save, and walks away. Yeah. So then, I got to be honest, for the longest time, this wasn't feeling like a Doctor Who episode. It still doesn't. It's really weird. It's not even like Turn Left or any other episode. Like, it's a bottle episode of a bottle episode. This is like prime bottle episode material. Like, it's not Doctor Who. It's something completely different. But I am curious what was going on up till this point. So we end up having Ruby, start volunteering for Roger's team. Says, I'm willing to do anything you want. It'll be awesome. It'll be great. Let's go do this. Yay! And she says, I'll even hold coats. So that's what she does. Roger's at an interview, and she's holding coats for the entire team. Well, at this interview, we have interesting things. And it kind of points you what style of person they're trying to do with Roger, to the point that it's essentially anti-populist. Now, Roger's a bad dude, because that's what they made him, a bad dude, because they don't like certain types of politics. They don't like certain types of ideology. They don't like making singular nations strong, independent, and not having to be a part of NATO, because that's a big point here. They don't like that. Other than Roger end up being a bad dude that wanted to start a nuclear war, a lot of his stuff, I was kind of like, you know what? I don't have a problem with. Build up your military, build up your defenses, shore up your own borders, be independent from the rest of the world. That's great. Make your country great. But apparently that's bad, and that's what they try to do with Roger. So Roger's doing this whole thing, lays out, I guess, a lot of his, barely any of his positions. All he really wants to do is make Britain great again. I'm not kidding. That's all he really wants to do. And then it gets shown that, hey, but you want to spend a lot of money on nuclear weapons and nuclear arsenals. Why do you want to do that? Because we need to be, self-dependent. We need to be strong and be able to defend ourselves. Think about it. Back in the Great Russian War in 2031, Britain didn't fire a bomb once. Well, that's good. Gotta be honest. It's good not wanting to fire a bomb, but it ends up opening that no, all he wants to do is fire a nuke. Why? For strength? For power? I don't know. He just wants to fire a nuke. That's all he wants to do. He wants to fire a nuke. He wants to buy a bunch of nukes and fire a nuke. Because that's what the world should know, is Britain is back and great again, and we all need to bow down before us. I don't get it. It's stupid. So thing stops. He obviously realizes he screwed up in the interview, so he said, we're going to cut this part out, move on. Time goes by. They're starting to leave. William, or whatever his name is, starts telling everybody, hey, you know, you need to go get the car, you go do this, you go do that right now, let's go. He ends up talking with Ruby, says, are you with our team? She goes like, yes. And he comes over to her and then points to this woman who's Maddie. Yeah, Maddie. And he goes like, is she with us? And he's like, yes, she's a part of this is such and such team. And he's like, okay, what's her name? Maddie. That's a boy's name. Okay. Then goes over to her, walks away, and it's heavily implied that they had a night of passion, a night of love making. And it's bad. I don't know why, but that's bad. Because as we move on, we end up seeing that William won the election. Yay! Everybody's rejoicing in the little thingy. Ruby then sits down, sees old woman standing out there, and then talks with Maddie. And Ruby's all like, you know, William, he's an interesting dude. He's very charismatic, but he gives me the shivers. He kind of scares me a little bit. And Maddie responds with, he's a monster. I don't know why. I don't know what happened between the two of them. Did he, you know, overpower you? Did he force himself upon you? What happened? I don't know. It's just implied that he did something. I don't know what he did. But he's a bad dude because he likes women. That's all I'm getting here. He probably did do something, but you need to at least tell us that he did something. We have to... it's not just like tell us. It's like... It's this whole show don't tell, okay? You know, show us that something happened. Don't just come out of here and say that something happened. But there is this balancing act that in order to show us something happened, you do need to give us a little bit more information so that we're not just sitting here assuming something happened that didn't really happen. All I know here is Maddie went from liking the dude to now not liking the dude, and I guess she's not gonna Me Too because there's no Me Too in this timeline. I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's the power William has. I don't know what's all going on there. You're not giving me enough information to work with. That's an important key here. So, okay. Ruby then vows to like help her and stuff, and they go off to the pitch because they're gonna begin celebrating the inauguration and like transfer codes, all this stuff, and they're doing this in Cogsworth or some place like that on a pitch, and they're all like, yay, we're gonna do this, but we have one rule, and I don't know why this is the one rule. Don't walk on the grass. I don't know why. I don't. That 3 days to get set up, I'm pretty sure just stepping on the grass isn't gonna be a problem. And somebody did point out, well, on Saturday, like the grass is gonna be all prim and proper, like people are gonna be walking on it no matter what. I don't get it. It's a stupid rule. Okay, it's just stupid. I know it's more nitpicky, but still, it's a stupid rule. So, okay, Ruby gets out there. She sees the old woman. We see William get up there. Dude over here talks to lead guy and goes like, hey, is it possible to meet him? He's like, no, he's now in Parliament. He's now the Prime Minister. We're now sidelined. We're no longer important. Our job's to just set everything up. Okay, that's our job. So that's what they're gonna go do. And the dude ends up turning around, talking to Maddie, and goes like, hey, except for you, Maddie, William wants you at the party this Saturday. And now Maddie's looking at Ruby all scared, like, oh my God, no, he's gonna do it again. He's gonna do whatever the heck he did to me again. What did he do to you? I don't know. Okay, so they're gonna get all set up. They're gonna go do stuff. And then Ruby sits down and talks to dude here while Maddie's just there. And I guess they're supposed to be going around putting all these stickers on each chair, but they're not. They're just sitting there watching everything. Maddie and Ruby and other dude. And other dude then fills him in like, oh, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be a fantastic Saturday because he's gonna finally get the codes. And Ruby's like, why? Nobody's really gonna watch this. Nobody's gonna care to watch this. The rest of the world isn't gonna watch this. It's just a new prime minister of Britain. Nobody gives a toss. And honestly, I agree. But then dude says, well, if he has something to say, they'll listen. And Ruby's like, what do you mean? Oh, we're buying all the nuclear arsenals from Pakistan, and then Saturday, William gets the codes. And through all of this, which is a lot more symbolic, Ruby deduces he's gonna launch a nuclear missile, and Maddie's just sitting there constantly just facial expressions. She says like maybe one or two things, that's it, but she's mainly just facial expressions at this point. So then Ruby ends up getting up saying, I wanted to try to help you. I did. I wanted to save you and do all this stuff, but I have to go do something else right now and save the world. And that's all that she goes to do. And black dude says, hey, can you get us a coffee while you're up? So Ruby's not going to get a coffee, okay? That's the reality there. Ruby is going to walk out there, walks on the grass, and gets on the grass. She's now on the pitch, and everybody's freaking out. Get off the pitch! Get off the pitch! You're bad. And William's like, what is she doing? What's going on? Ruby then lines herself up perfectly on the pitch. She pulls out a phone to track her position compared to where William is and doing the whole yard thing. So she's there with a phone, moving backwards. And as she's moving backwards, everybody's freaking out at her. There's now guards aiming at her, about to, pop her one. Angry dudes coming off, getting, get off the pitch and put the phone down. It's really started to show you, like, you could see the left turn or turn left elements here. You can see other elements from like bottle style episodes that don't have a doctor within them. You can see like Ruby's figuring it out, but it's kind of stupid. So Ruby walks back, keeps walking back to the point that she's 73 yards away. William then turns, sees random woman there, engages with random woman, and then runs away screaming. Maddie's all happy. Yay, everybody's happy. So good times, you're bound. And then apparently because he ran away and sees this, he quits being prime minister and just is no longer prime minister. Again, I'm going to take this to here. What is the old woman showing them, telling them, or doing to them that now makes it so that William doesn't want to be prime minister? At least before, with both old women, like the first two old women, the old woman and the old dude, they ran away screaming because they were scared of Ruby. When it came to Ruby's mother, she didn't want to do anything with Ruby again. When it came to the Katie or Kathy, I cannot remember that particular group's name off the top of my head, but that particular group, they didn't want to help Ruby out anymore. So then why is it that William wants to quit being prime minister because of this? Because how does this all affect? This is stuff that I need to figure out. What's being said? How is this working? All it should do from the rules that are established so far is that he should want to kick Ruby out of the group and want nothing to do with Ruby anymore. In fact, now that he's a prime minister, he could probably do some really awful stuff to Ruby. I'm just saying. But apparently that led him to want to resign from prime minister, and they're going to have a new prime minister who's going to be vowing for a more lenient and listening government. Yay. Okay. Well, Ruby's won. She goes to her windowsill. She talks to the old woman, says, now can you leave me alone? And no. The 40 years pass. Now, I prefer the more subtlety that they were doing earlier. Again, I'm pointing out some like pros to this, but by the end of this is going to be pointless. I prefer the more subtle approach to, like time going by, because at that age, when Ruby did all that, she was 40. Now she's going to be 85, I believe. So Ruby gets out. We show this, and the woman here says Ruby, and then you see it's an old Ruby now. And they came back to Wales to go look at the TARDIS. And Ruby sits down in front of the TARDIS, goes, is talking to her. A woman over here says, why the heck are everybody bring all the, the flowers and stuff to this place? And Ruby's like, oh, I don't know. They just feel drawn to it, I guess. So then as time goes on, Ruby's just sitting there talking to the TARDIS, going like, oh, shite. Just saying, hey, I never found my birth mother. My adopted mother wanted nothing to do with me. It never snowed again. But I've had a decent life, that's what it boils down to. You can see other old woman right behind her still. Stuff goes on. By the way, I actually do need to point this out. I don't I don't know what's happening with the TARDIS here. I don't, because the TARDIS should only be like decaying like this if the TARDIS is dying. But when the TARDIS starts to die, it also shows its true size, which is massive. So is the TARDIS starting to die here, or is the TARDIS not dying? I don't know. It should not be doing this. That's the rules that are standard for the TARDIS. But I guess we're not gonna actually, dig into that. So, okay, we then cut back to Ruby. She's now in like a nursing home or a hospital, just talking and being discussed with, and old woman's over here like, if you want the lights on, just say lights. Oh, that's not new. We had that when I was young. Old woman. Then Ruby says, I was once able to make it snow at one point. And old woman's like, oh yeah, good for you, old woman. Now go to bed. And Ruby goes to sleep. Then she hears whispers, wakes up, says lights, and you see that old woman that's been following her all this time is now in the corner, no longer 73 yards away. And now we get scaries because lights go on, off. A woman keeps getting closer. Lights go on, off. Woman keeps getting closer. Then Ruby opens her arms wide to be like, yay! And then we see this. And we have Ruby going like, I tried so hard. I worked so long. It's taken this much time, but I could see it. And we stare down and we see, oh, look, the TARDIS, young Ruby, and the Doctor. And yay, we're back in Wales, and we get a similar thing to the beginning. Slightly different, because in the beginning, Ruby's all like, I've been to Wales twice, and said all this stuff. This time she says, I've been to Wales 3 times. Okay, so stuff starts going on. Old woman kind of whispers to Ruby, don't step. Ruby hears it. They start talking. Ruby points out old woman. Doctor doesn't see old woman. And Doctor almost steps on the fairy circle, and then doesn't. And then stuff just moves on. They start talking about the fairy circle and how it's delicate. So this gets to the whole point. The old woman that's been following Ruby this entire time was just Ruby from the future. But how does Ruby from the future start impacting Ruby of now? Well, not now, because they mentioned dual timelines and things like that, and it starts really becoming an issue on how this all works out. But, okay, so Ruby of the future is impacting Ruby of now, but then this becomes a paradox, because then Ruby of the future would have had to have at least happened roughly 3 times. Roughly 3 times. Because you need old Ruby to then come back to the past for the first go around, step on it, have that all happen, have that cycle happen. Second Ruby come back, realizes, oh my god, I screwed up, I can't do this again, tries to teach the third version of Ruby, you need to do this, and then third Ruby basically is the one at the end. I'm trying, I know it's hurting your brains and everything, but this is paradox rules and becomes very complicated and timey-wimey, and it becomes very messy. Okay? So these are serious questions that I'm pointing out. Like, I need answers to. I need a way to solve this, and I don't know what it is, because ultimately, we don't know what anybody's ever been shown. We don't know what's happening with anybody. We don't know how anybody's being affected by this. We don't know how anybody's, interacting with this. And it gets so weird that when the Doctor ends up asking Ruby, like, you said you were here for 3 times. What was the 3rd time that you were here? Ruby doesn't know that she was here for 3 times, but she says, I guess now is when I was here the 3rd time. So this obviously has impacted the timeline, but I can't figure out how this has impacted the timeline. I can't figure out how this loop system is working. You need to explain this. This is why it all becomes pointless at the end. All the actions with William, pointless. Mother running away, pointless. Everybody running away, pointless. And guess what? They warned about William again. Guess what? Now everything with William's gonna happen again. All of it's pointless at the end of this. So when you have these basically closed loop paradoxes, you end up actually having serious ramifications and ending it like this, not telling us what was happening, not telling us what's going on. Ultimately, the whole episode was pointless. Outright, it was pointless, because everything's just gonna happen all over again. Maddie's gonna go down that path, probably get forced herself, have herself forced upon. We're gonna end up having William fire a nuke back in the future in 2046. All this is just gonna happen. So what was the point? What was the purpose to all this? What was the purpose to any of this? Just to have an episode. Now, was it an entertaining episode for the most part? Yeah, until this part. Until the very end, it was kind of interesting. It was kind of entertaining. There was parts I liked. My biggest criticism was, hey, what's being said? I need to find out more about this woman, because how is this all affecting everybody? What's happening here? But then by the end of it, it's all pointless. It's all meaningless. Why do we do this anyways? That's the ultimate thing. It's a bottle up. It's the definition of a bottle episode. It's a definition of an episode that has no real ramifications moving forward. And that's one of our biggest problems that we have right now in modern Doctor Who episode. Not only do we have politics thrown in here, by the way, with the whole anti-Trump, anti-Boris Johnson, anti-populist messaging, basically making your country a good country. Not only do we have that messaging, we end up having just a pointless episode. Nothing is going to change. Everything's going to play out the same way. And that's just that. And that's one of the biggest problems with modern Who, is nothing really matters at all. Ultimately, though, when it comes to this episode, it's just pointless and kind of stupid. But I'm going to leave it there. Let me get you guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it out, friends, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video, go live, guys. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.